So this is your homework for tonight. This is something that I do for my students a lot. I have a Jupyter notebook, and in the top cell, I make a markdown cell where I put the directions for their homework, and then they can fill it in the cells below. So this is what your homework is. And I'm going to show you before I come back to this. So as you can see, it says you will be analyzing an XYZ file for water. So if you click over here in your MolSSI workshop folder and you click into the data, you can see this file called water.xyz. And you don't have to click on this if you don't want to. I just want to show you what an XYZ file is. So an XYZ file is a standard file format for sharing molecular coordinates. And the form of an XYZ file is always this. The first line is always just a number, and it's the number of atoms in the molecule. The second line is the title line. So it's just words, and it can be whatever information you need. Like it might tell you how the structure was determined. It might just tell you what it is, but the second line is always words. And then from the third line down, you have the atomic symbol, the X coordinate, the Y coordinate, the Z coordinate, okay? So you have the coordinates for each of the atoms. So what you're going to do in your homework is that you're going to analyze this XYZ file and measure the distance between all the atoms in the molecule. And this is what the output of your code should look like. So if you measure the distance from the oxygen to the oxygen, clearly you're going to get 0 because those are the same. If you measure the distance from the oxygen to hydrogen 1, this is what you're going to get. Oxygen to hydrogen 2, this is what you're going to get. So to measure the distance between coordinates, you need the distance formula from geometry, which I've put down here to remind you of. And then you can see that when you're implementing the distance formula in your code, you'll need to square stuff because there's a squared term. And to square that something, you use the star notation. So in Python, if you do 3 star 2, that's saying 3 squared. And you'll also need to take the square root. And there's a NumPy function to take the square root called numpy.sqrt. And then you put whatever you want to take the square root of in the parentheses. Okay? I will tell you, secret hint, the key to this is thinking about how to use a for loop. And you might even think about that you might even use a double for loop like we talked about yesterday. I will also say that this actually is a very challenging homework assignment for if you just started to learn to program 2 days ago. This is actually a pretty ambitious homework. So do your best, give it your best shot, and we'll talk about it when we have our next class next Tuesday.